Hello Halo fans, welcome to my video. So I'm just gonna get right into it. This is the way I think Halo CE should be remade, as well as things that I think could benefit the whole game. To begin with, something entirely new. What I call Zuka Zamami mode. If you've read the novel Halo the Flood, you'll know the character. He was essentially an elite that was tasked with hunting Master Chief on the Halo ring. As far as we know, this Halo remake is built on the Reach engine. So I think the groundwork for having playable elites should be already done. My idea is a mode where one player gets to play as Zuka Zamami and essentially invade someone else's single player game. If we go by the book, the only levels where this makes sense are the Pillar of Autumn, the Silent Cartographer, and the Maw. But for fun, they could just let it work on almost any level. It's a way of integrating his story into the game in a way that makes sense, while also finally giving us back playable elites, which have been absent from Halo for far too long. And the way it could work is either you spawn in when the player begins the level, although that might be a bit funky, or there's certain points where you can spawn in. Like on a level like Silent Cartographer, you could set up the ambush. That ambush where there's hunters that appear when you go to deactivate the security system. Zuka Zamami is supposed to be there. He's supposed to have organized it. You could go and do it yourself, or you could choose to do a different thing. You could choose to wait in the actual cartographer room, or whatever you choose. And on if they do it on any level, yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless, really. Could be just a way to have some more fun. So, putting aside Zuka Zamami, we've got 3 new levels coming with Johnson. The problem I kind of have here is it will be kind of odd for new players. You're hyping up Johnson as such a major character for 3 missions before Halo even begins. But Johnson essentially disappears from the game by level 3. Since he goes with keys, he shouldn't be in Assault on the Control Room, level 4, not in level 5. We see him in flashbacks in 343 Guilty Spark, level 6, and then he's gone from the game, basically. So, I feel like they need to make big changes, or else it's just going to be odd. We'll get into that later. But as for these 3 new levels, I'm really curious if they're going to be all close together sequential, or if they're going to jump around the timeline. Because if they're jumping around in time, it would be really nice to see the other Spartans, as it makes no sense for Chief to be working alone at this point. If not Blue Team, then it could be anyone, really. It would be even cool if they do an encounter on Arcadia with Chief and Johnson, where they run into Jerome's red team before they vanish with the Spirit of Fire. That would be really cool to see. Also, if you do include other Spartans, please don't make them Power Rangers. Make everyone UNSC, military green, please. And since they can basically write things as they want now, I mean, this is essentially almost a full-on retcon of their vision of Halo. So anything is up for rewrite and retconning. So Chief and Johnson can essentially appear anywhere they decide. Could be cool to see them fighting on Eridanus too. That's Chief's home planet. See what it was like. Maybe he could have some thoughts on it before it gets glassed. I feel like just to tie into the actual game Halo, I feel like the third mission probably is going to be set on or around Reach. I really can't say I'm a fan of the game Halo Reach. So I hope they do their own thing.
Oh, they're not there on the...
If they're going to ignore the book as well. Really, the Pillar of Autumn should be in space. And Chief should not be in a cryotube. He should be awake and doing things. Like, ignore Bungie's thing of putting Chief in cryo before the Pillar of Autumn has even left Reach, which is just ridiculous. Just ignore the Autumn going on Reach. It shouldn't ever have done that in the first place. Just keep it in space.
It's just perfect.
Just ignore Halo Reach. Thank you, Bungie. But no thank you. So yeah, that third mission, I feel, has to be set around Reach. Otherwise, the pacing is just odd if it's set further back in the timeline. And then just jump cut. Chief wakes up in the Pillar of Autumn, and it's like the last thing that's mentioned is, yeah, we just escaped from Reach. And it's just like, okay, what? And presumably these missions are going to be like memories he's having while he's in cryo. Really, what I would wish for with the 3 extra missions is explore the UNSC and Covenant war in an interesting way. Like, show us things we haven't seen before. Such as the invasion of one planet, and we get to see key moments of it. You could make a new Covenant leader of a particular fleet or of that invasion that we get to defeat. And it would be nice to see the actual, fleets the humans are meant to have. Ships that are bigger than just cruisers and frigates. That are in all the, encyclopedias and all the books and everything. But we've never actually seen them in a game. It would be nice to see those finally. Since you're going to set it at the peak of the war, presumably. So, putting aside all that new stuff, what I really want to talk about is how I think Halo CE's story can be rewritten to include stuff from the novel The Flood that can improve the story while also pretty much keeping the story as it is meant to be and as it was in the game. So, to begin with, on the Pillar of Autumn, we should be able to meet Major Silva and some ODSTs. And here, it should be established that Silva has a grudge with Chief because he's a Spartan. The rest of the level doesn't need much changes, and they don't even need to go deep into why. It can be just that he's an ODST and he doesn't believe Spartans are needed. Which is pretty much his whole premise anyway. But I believe Silva should become a major character, so it would be good to introduce him here on the Pillar of Autumn. So, after the Pillar of Autumn, the level Halo. Obviously, give the ring some wildlife that it was meant to have anyway. And something that's been in my mind is, since Johnson is in this level, presumably he will become an immortal NPC now. So that will be quite the change, because Halo CE didn't have any. So, yeah, he will be the first one. So, I already know they won't do any of the alpha-based stuff, which would basically, if you don't know, from the novel The Flood, the human forces that landed on the ring managed to take over and set up a place they called Alpha Base, which became their base of operations while they were on the ring. I already know there's no way Halo Studios are going to include it, because it just doesn't fit into really any of the levels. But
Like, look at that spread.
You can include it by including Major Silva. So if you let him into the game, he can talk with us over comms, begrudgingly, and he can introduce some military order to the things that are happening on the ring, since Keys is out of the picture for so long. And Cortana is not a military officer. She shouldn't be the one planning things like gathering the Marines and summoning Foehammer to us. There should be more military hierarchy going on, and Major Silva is that guy. And once we do rescue the Marines on the level Halo, Silva can give a forced thanks for saving the men, you know, setting up his arc of overcoming his hatred of Chief as a Spartan. And also you can start including some ODSTs among the Marines that never got a chance to drop pod down, so they came down in those safety pods or something. On to the third level, Truth and Reconciliation. First off, the CCS cruiser should look way bigger. The scale of it has always looked off. And it should be way bigger. Second, there really should be some damage on the exterior of the ship. I suppose you could argue that we can't see it, maybe it's on the top of the ship, but it's said that Cortana damaged it, but there's no damage to be seen. Like, where is the damage? It would be nice to show that, to show why the ship is stuck on the ring. And they could change the interior, like put in
Just watch
that area where the hangar has no connecting corridor, like a big connecting corridor for the big workshop area where they keep the wraiths and ghosts. That workshop area with the wraiths and ghosts only connects to the gravity lift. So how do they get the wraiths and ghosts to the hangar? Like, you should change the interior of the ship to make more sense for how things move around inside of it. And also it would be nice to flesh out the interior as well. Like, show us more things the Covenant use on their ships, not just endless corridors. Like, you could have an armory, you could have the different species have different quarters, because they all have different needs for living. And when the assault begins, of course, it should be Chief with ODSTs and Silva on comms. Johnson can be part of the group too. He should show up here. And when they all board the ship, I think it would make a lot of sense if they blow up an engine or something inside the ship that damages it more and explains why it's still stuck on the ring by the time the floods start expanding everywhere. Also, when you break Keys out of prison, they should change his voice line about overhearing that Halo is a weapon. It just makes no sense for the Covenant to say that. So, on to Mission 4, Silent Cartographer. I'm gonna kind of talk about the remake stuff they've already shown off here. Please fix that opening cutscene where dropships appear and disappear as the camera demands. Also, one of the spirits is shot down, but there's no wreckage on the beach immediately after that. Like, if you're gonna do something in a cutscene, show the effects of that in the game. That would be nice. Since Keys is back, he can assume control for military decisions, as the level has anyway, so Silva can kind of take a backseat here. Also, those Marines which are topside, like you leave behind, they should move to the cartographer location. In the original game, over the radio, they talk as if they do that, but nothing actually happens. So, the rest of the level can play out as it does. For Mission 5, Assault on the Control Room, I think it would be interesting to see the Covies actually praying and tinkering with Forerunner panels and such. Since the whole ring is a relic of their gods, it would be nice to see them have some excitement and curiosity for it, rather than in the base game, all they do is either walk around or sleep. feels like the Covenant should be more excited about the whole place. Also, the pelican in the canyon that appears when you're going over the first bridge could have ODSTs, and saving them could get you some thanks from Silva, who is coming back into the fore as the top leader with Keys off on his mission. Also, Johnson in the base original game does appear here. He shouldn't obviously appear since he's off with Keys. And when we get to the control room pyramid, have an actual assault happen. Some Marines and ODSTs should either follow you the whole way there or get pelicaned in, that you can have an actual assault. It's not just you assaulting the whole pyramid by yourself. And the reasoning behind this is also that they should come in to defend the whole control room once you leave. And you could even have Silva appear here briefly to like agree with Cortana and send you off looking for Keys. And it would make more sense why Chief would just leave Cortana behind. Instead of, in the original, he just leaves her by herself, which is a bit of a terrible idea. At least now it would make sense because she has humans there to defend her. So, onto one of the best Halo levels of them all. 343 Guilty Spark, level 6. I think it would be nice if they had more things to explore in the swamp before getting into the facility. But we'll see. And since Spark mentions that Flood were kept so they could be examined and studied, I think it would be cool to see some of those experiments very deep in the facility. Maybe even make them optional, something you can only find if you really do explore around. And it would make sense as a way to introduce the pure tank forms as like leftovers from the Forerunner Flood War, because at this stage the Flood cannot actually produce them themselves. Also, when Chief opens the door to where Keys last was, where you meet the Flood, get rid of the guy behind the door. It's just silly. There's no reason the Flood wouldn't have converted that guy. It's just nonsensical. Also, the door was opened. Why would he be stuck against the door? If they want to show, like, creepy stuff, have dismembered limbs just left lying around the place. Or bodies that were so horrifically mutilated that even the Flood couldn't convert them. Another thing, since Halo Wars already did it, they could retcon in Grunt and Jackal combat forms. And when we leave the facility, I think this is where things should change. That group of Marines you meet before you head into out into the swamp, Johnson should be among them. Like, that's where he should go. And then, when you get teleported away by Spark, have it said that Foehammer picks him up. So that's where he went. So, onto level 7, the library. Some signs of the Covenant being in the area, including some live holdouts, would be nice for the gameplay. Also, definitely should include Marvin Mabuto somewhere. If you don't know, he's a guy from the Flood novel who Guilty Spark first brought in to try get the index, but the Flood battered his body so much that they couldn't even convert him. He was just left mutilated. Also, in here in the library is where I think they should start showing enforcers, but they don't even have to be enforcers. You could include other Sentinel types. There is really a lot of Sentinel types, so they could start including them here. It would be interesting, could change up the gameplay. And also, definitely have the Flood bioforming the areas where they are the strongest. That's what they do. Rest of the level should be the same. So, on level 8, 2 Betrayals, one of my favorite levels, we should see some Marines in the control room when Chief suddenly teleports in with Spark. They don't even have to talk or anything, they can just be like, whoa, and just be there in the background. Everything should proceed as normal, and when the Sentinels appear and Spark betrays Chief, the Sentinels can kill the Marines. And then we can either get out and meet Silva, or have him still somewhere else and talking to us on comms again, telling us that everything on the ring is going to hell, there's not many Marines or ODSTs left, and the rest of the level should continue as normal, but we can maybe encounter small holdouts of like UNSC forces and maybe get them extracted. When we find out that Keyes is on the Truth and Reconciliation, Cortana can tell Silva, and he can tell us that he's going to meet us there with everyone that's left. So then we get to Keyes, level 9. So this level should have the Marines and ODSTs appear, trying to invade the ship also. And when we get back into the ship and are in the hangar going to Keyes, have Silva come in a Pelican with ODSTs, and like as a group we can all push together towards Keyes, because if you've played Halo CE, you know that hallway to get the Keyes is absolute hell. Just an endless flood of flood. And by this point, so this is where it diverges from the Flood novel heavily. So by this point, I think Silva should have a begrudging respect for Chief. And when we get into the room where Keyes is, Silva should see just how much of a threat the Flood posed to Earth. So he can tell Chief he's going to stay here. And anyone who volunteers can stay with him. They're going to go to the engine room and blow the whole ship to hell. He wishes Chief luck, and Chief wishes him luck. And then Chief heads off for the Pillar of Autumn. As he's leaving in the Banshee, Foehammer can radio in and follow after him, along with Johnson, and maybe there's a couple of Marines in the Pelican, because Johnson wants to help Chief. See, we can tie it back into those extra 3 missions they're doing, trying to establish that Chief and Johnson are pretty close. So then we get to the Maw, level 10, final level. Everything is pretty much the same, except when we get to the bridge where Guilty Spark stops the countdown, you can have Johnson appear as like the sole survivor, and then he can accompany us and work with Chief to blow up the Autumn. He can have lots of words for Guilty Spark when we're in the engine room, and then when we finally blow it, Johnson can follow us and hop in the Warthog turret. Foehammer can still meet her end as she did, but we can get to the Longsword and escape alongside Johnson. And I think that would be a good way to tie into Halo 2. I love The Flood, the novel, but there's no way they can include the stuff that was in that book in the game without it messing up the pacing of everything. But I think a retcon like this, to where Johnson escapes alongside Chief, actually would work pretty good. And also, we finally get to see an ODST character with Silva, who in the book really just stays as a character the whole time. But here we get to have him go on an arc, seeing that Chief is good and helping him, and that this ring has got such a bad force on it in the Flood that if they don't work together, well then all of Earth is in trouble. Just for other random thoughts, for weapons, I have to admit I'm not really a fan of them bringing in rifles, like the battle rifle and needle rifle. if they're going to be like widespread in many levels. Because look, the fact is Halo CE has the best weapons sandbox of all the Halo games. But those two rifles, they did it to Halo 2 and they did it to Halo 3. They just make so many of the guns irrelevant and objectively bad to use in comparison. As well as making the enemies into just boring bullet sponges. So, for vehicles, well, they've only said that the Wraith will be getting added. Nothing else. What else is there to talk about then? So, vehicles, whatever. For the Covenant, they did say they want to add some new Covenant enemies, but I'm pretty certain that just means they're going to add in enemies we've already had in Halo that just weren't in CE. If they added buggers or something, I hope they make them interesting. But the weird thing will be if they include these new enemies, but then they don't show up for the rest of the game, and they're only in those first 3 levels with Johnson. That would be odd. One thing that we've still never had that would be cool is the Sharkwai. So this is something that's meant to have been in Halo forever. Since Halo CE, Halo 2, they just have never been in any game. But they would be cool. The problem, I think, is that... So basically, it's a huge creature that its entire combat style is around melee. It's just gonna punch you to death. So the only way I see this being fun is if it's in a large open area where we have like a warthog and it's like trying to chase you down and pummel you to death, and you just have to drive away from it while it gets gunned down. I can't see any way it would be fun to fight on foot, because it's probably going to be like a bullet sponge kind of enemy. Yeah, it's tough. I can understand why it's never actually been included. Anyway, last thing, the Flood. Real obvious changes to make here. Let the Flood drive vehicles in the levels which have them. And also, like I said before, Halo Wars already retconned in Grunt and Jackal combat forms. So, since they're starting all over again, and this is basically Halo as imagined by Halo Studios, there's really nothing stopping them adding in Grunt and Jackal combat forms, and they could make them vastly different from Elite and Human combat forms to, you know, add variety, which is what people always complain about fighting the Flood. I love the Flood though. Also, please keep the Flood as they were in Halo CE, where meleeing them doesn't nearly ever kill them, and melee is their strongest area.
Here we go.
And this is pretty logical, they must surely include this, but have infection forms converting live or dead enemies to more combat forms, like it was in Halo 3. So, yeah, if you've made it this far, thanks for listening. I doubt any of this will happen, but I would love to be proven wrong. Well, thank you very much. This is not your grave.
It was a heretic. Oh, here we go.
You